All right, everyone, welcome back into another fantasy football / DFS video. Going to be doing the sleepers here for week 13. And yes, this is going to be a video in which you can use for NFL DFS. I'm going to use DraftKings as the platform to highlight these players, but you can use these in your season long leagues as well. These are not going to be players that are going to be as obvious as plays. These are going to be players that people might be questioning and they might not know if they should play them or not. So, let's get into it. If you guys enjoy the coverage, make sure to give a like and subscribe. That helps me be able to put out more content for you guys. Say hi to my cat right here, Hugo. And let's get into the coverage right now. All right, so sleeper pick number 1 for me is going to be James Robinson. I think there's the potential that Michael Carter could sit. And then if Michael Carter sits, then I think it'd be James Robinson as the RB1 in this offense. Okay, they brought him in for a reason, but also he was inactive last week. We don't really know exactly why he was inactive, but when we're looking at it, I think he is the most talented and the most pure runner in that group, especially if Michael Carter sits. He's not going to be someone that's going to be high owned in DFS, and he's probably going to be someone that most people are not starting in their season long leagues. This is definitely predicated on two things. One, we get news that Michael Carter is going to sit, and we get news that James Robinson is going to be the starter. Then that makes him a much more appealing play. We just need to use common sense with it. If there's not news, or if there's cloudy news around him, then it's not going to be as good of a play. But I do think there's the potential that he is a really standout play, especially going against Minnesota. Another kind of sleeper play, I would say, is going to be Dameon Pierce. Dameon Pierce has really struggled. We've seen his snaps go lower and lower kind of each week, and that's just because of the games being a bunch of blowouts. Now we get to match up with the Cleveland Browns, okay? This is going to be a kind of high-intensity game, it somewhat seems like, with the Deshaun Watson stuff. I do think this game is going to stay close, and I do think that Dameon Pierce is going to be able to get around 15 opportunities. People might not be excited about it, but Dameon Pierce is going to get a great matchup going against the Cleveland Browns, a top 3 matchup on the slate. So if you're someone that is playing him in DFS, go for it. If you guys have him in season long leagues, I don't want to say I'd feel confident starting him, but I feel like you just need to start him. Definitely a flex play for you this week. And then David Montgomery again, kind of a sleeper play. He is at a kind of strange price point, 6.2. He did get 18 opportunities last week, 21 opportunities the week before that. So the opportunities have been there. The snap share has been there. Gets a good matchup going against the Green Bay Packers. Okay. So if you look at the Atlanta Falcons matchup, that was a very good matchup. He was able to do well against the New York Jets. Not the best matchup, and he was still able to go out and have a good game. So going against the Green Bay Packers, that's a matchup that I do think he'll be able to have a good game against. Earlier this season, we saw him really go off, and that was probably his most impressive game was against Green Bay in week 2. So 6.2 for David Montgomery. He is someone that I think you can certainly play in DFS this week, and he's someone I think you can confidently play in your season long leagues as well. Do want to just highlight Jordan Mason as well. Elijah Mitchell going to be out for a while. And then you also have the news that CMC kind of a little bit banged up. Jordan Mason could potentially fall into a kind of significant role. A player to keep an eye on. He is the definition of a sleeper. Okay. Wouldn't be shocking to see him have a role this week, and also wouldn't be shocking to see him not be a factor at all. We just got to wait for the news to come out. DJ Chark is going to be both a sneaky player to use in season long leagues and an NFL DFS this week. Priced at 3.2 on DraftKings. This is a cheap price point. He is going to be the receiver number 2 like he was brought in to be. Played about 70% of the snaps last week. In his first week back, only played about like 15% of the snaps. So we did see that really change last week, and that's what we wanted to see. Now we get him at a cheap price point in a pretty good matchup. DJ Chark really could have a good game. I would say besides Jamal Williams, he's the next most likely to get a touchdown this week. So DJ Chark firmly a player that I'm looking at this week. And BYRON Pringle is probably going to make me look bad this week because I mentioned him on like 2 out of 3 videos, but I do like the fact that he has played a decent amount of snaps last week, playing about 60% of snaps with Darnell Mooney gone. I think he's going to be the receiver number 2 in this offense. He was brought in originally to be the receiver number 2 in this offense. So I do think that's a trend that could continue into this week. Just someone to keep an eye on. And then Nico Collins, it's more or less people are sleeping on him. Okay. He has been really impressive, I think, lately, especially the last 3 weeks. 9 targets, 7 targets, 10 targets, averaging around 10 DK points per game. That is pretty solid. Gets a good matchup. Good enough matchup going against Cleveland. 4.2, a cheap price point for him. He is someone I think could firmly be in play as well this week. These are going to be should be low-owned options for you this week, and it just wouldn't be shocking to see these guys at least hit value or exceed value. All right, I'm curious if you guys enjoy that coverage. I'm trying to kind of mix and match the fantasy football with DFS. It's tough because although it's the same information, sometimes it doesn't get absorbed that way, like prop betting as well. I highlight these top plays, and if you were to just bet them, you'd be successful as well. It's tough because I feel like it's redundant doing that stuff. So I'm trying to double dip the chip here a little bit. So I'm curious if that helped or not. All right. Thanks for watching, guys. Let's have a good weekend as always. Let's keep cashing.